Welcome to memoQ Talks, where we talk to industry leaders about their experiences, lessons learned, and what works best across all areas of localization. Now here's your host.
Charles, Karen, Andre, how are you guys?
Good. Great.
Very good. Good to see you.
Good.
Likewise. Hey, first off, thank you so much for coming on this really just kind of ad hoc scheduled version of memoQ Talks. Charles really wants to get the word out there about Vamos Juntos next year. And I'm really looking forward to talking about it because you guys have, Vamos Juntos is relatively new, but over the last couple of years have made tremendous progress. It's been super, super successful and popular. Want to talk to Charles about specifics of the events, of the event, but also would like to talk to Andre and Karen and whoever else logs in or dials in. We might get some kind of surprise guest here about, your participation at the event, whether it's being on a panel or leading a workshop, etc. So without further ado, Charles, how you been? And why don't you tell us about Vamos Juntos next year?
You should ask Charles, where have you been? Because he's like, where's Waldo?
Right?
Yeah, where have I been? Where have I been? I was at the ALC conference in Montreal 2 months ago. It seems like it was like 6 months ago, but it's only 2 months ago. Then I was home here in Argentina for a while in Cordoba, where I live. And then I went to Lock World in Monterey, California, and then in Mexico to check out the hotel venue for Vamos Juntos. And I was home in Cordoba again for like 30 hours. Washed my clothes, packed my bag, Saudi Arabia for a week.
Wow.
So now I go home from Saudi Arabia in the morning on it was a Wednesday, and on Wednesday evening I flew down to Patagonia in the bottom of Argentina. So certainly been all over the place.
You're racking up those frequent flyer miles. That's awesome, man. Tell us, about Vamos Juntos next year. When is it? Where is it? How big is it going to be, etc.?
Okay, well, it's very exciting. We're really moving fast now in the planning for Vamos Juntos. We have 90% of the speakers confirmed at this point. We're just working on a few last presentations. It's been amazing. We have had so many people apply to speak, the highest caliber of speakers and experts and thinkers in this industry. So we're in Mexico City. March 14 and 15 is the main conference, and then 12 and 13 are the pre-conference workshops. We have 4 pre-conference workshops going. So it's pretty amazing. 2 of them are full-day workshops, and 2 of them are half-day workshops about very different topics. So we're very excited. As I said, I was in Mexico a few weeks ago, went to the hotel. There was a big sign on the wall saying that Donald Trump, Joe Biden, and Fidel Castro, all of them have stayed at the same hotel. So if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for us. An amazing hotel with a forest out the back, wonderful restaurants, wonderful gym facilities, and above all, for the purposes of our event, an excellent conference facility. So we're very excited about that. And the rooms that we have organized for Juntos, single or double room for something like $229 a night, plus tax. So very reasonable rate for such a high quality venue. And if it's good enough for Fidel and Donald, it's good enough for us. So I was really excited about that.
That's awesome. Well, you were just talking about high quality speakers, and you were also talking about, I mentioned that we might have a drop-in guest, and it looks like Renato has just joined us. So I think he ticks both of those boxes there. So Charles, thanks for the kind of the overview. I want to come back to you at the end, and because, you've been to Mexico City, you're really excited about the venue. As I mentioned, as we go around the room here, I want to ask each person what they're looking forward to see in Mexico City. Do they have any travel tips from previous experience, or are they online looking for, top 10 places, and they kind of mapping it out that way? But I'm going to put you, I'm going to give you a second here to catch your breath, and let's go around the room. First off, hey, Renato, thanks for joining us.
Greetings from Amsterdam.
Awesome, man.
That's another world. Where's Waldo? Renato.
Exactly. No, I'm pretty sure Renato is the man with the most miles in Loc. Yeah. So, but we'll come back to that in a second. Hey, Andre, Charles mentioned that there's some really high quality workshops being planned, and I think that you're leading a workshop, right?
Yes, I'm starting on 12th of March, and the workshop will be entitled Executive Excellence. So we are going to talk with CEOs and company founders, owners, managers about how to own the future and plan the future, not be surprised by it. I really like the saying that, by the next of the year, you surely arrive. The question is where, and do you know it? Do you plan this place, or will just, the time take you there? And I'll help everybody understand how to plan it, so that they are not surprised by what's happening, but so that the outcome of this year is what they have wished for themselves. And the other topic will be, or other angle of looking at this executive excellence will be finding joy in being the CEO. I find so many CEOs who are tired and overwhelmed with their job and really stressed about so many things happening. I think bringing joy to what's happening as you run the business is really important. So this will be one of the angles of my presentation of my workshop.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, being a CEO can be kind of a lonely position, heavy as the head that wears the crown and all that. But getting a group of peers together is a great way for people to kind of share, vent and learn. Let me ask you, in terms of, working to develop your own future, one of the big, question marks out there right now that everybody's talking about, is the effects of AI. And at memoQ, we've seen some decisions kind of be put off in terms of what technology to use, what tools to use, because people are unsure of, how AI is going to be, impacting our industry. Are you going to be covering that kind of a topic? And if so, how do you address that?
Yeah, this is the reality we cannot avoid, right? So of course, this will affect my presentation. AI, LLMs, technology changes the market. It changes the landscape and how we do business in translations or multilingual communication right now, I should rather say. On the other side, we have downturn in economy. Lots of people are facing crisis, or they are afraid of crisis. So I'll try to mix all of these concepts into my presentations. If you follow my social media, probably you realize I recently published some courses on turning crisis into opportunity. I don't want to really spoil a gift I'm presenting for the market in the next few days. I'll be talking about how to position an LSP in the era of AI so that it stays relevant. So all of this will be kind of mixed there. I really do not want to tell too much before I'm there.
Awesome. No. I mean, I think, I'm sure you're an excellent presenter, but I think you're also a good salesperson, because I'm feeling myself like, God, I want to go. I mean, I really sitting in a room of other leaders and learning from them. And as long as you have a good program and you're moderating, facilitating, I think it's a great way to learn. So that sounds like a great event. Karen, you're going to be participating on a panel, and I think that you did something similar last year. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that and why it excites you.
Well, last year I was on the panel for women business leaders in the language industry, moderated by Ingrid Christensen, and she's going to be moderating this year as well. I just found it inspirational to hear the stories of other women leaders in the industry, and we all come from different parts of the industry. I'm involved in language training and teaching. I have a language school here in Washington, D.C. Others may be involved in translation, interpretation, localization, etc. One thing I did last year, I'm on my second year as the president of the ALC, and the first thing I did when I started this position was travel to the conferences that I was able to travel to get to meet other people in the industry, because I knew everybody in the ALC, but I didn't know people from other associations that shared the same passion that we all have. And what I found was, especially at Juntos, because it was Charles, it was the first one, right? Was it the first one last year?
No. So we had Rio de Janeiro in 2023 and then Lima in 2024.
Okay. Well, Lima was where I was. So I just think that we're all such a group of wonderful, passionate people that everywhere we get together, some magic happens. And I felt that at Juntos last year as well. But one thing I've been interested in is hearing the stories of everyone. We all have stories, how we got into this industry. And as women, we have different interesting stories. And we've faced some challenges, and we've come at it from different angles. Many of us, I was a teacher, but many came in serendipitously. Something happened in their life, and they ended up, maybe they were a lawyer, and they somehow ended up in the language industry. And so these are things that really interest me.
That's excellent. And who are some of the other panelists?
Charles, who's on this time?
Yeah, I've got the list here. It's still taking shape. It's Ingrid Christensen will be the moderator. She was the moderator in Lima, as Karen said. We also have Melissa Meyer from Barbier.
Oh, Melissa's coming? Great.
Yes, she's coming. It's very exciting. And then we have a couple of other people that we're trying to rope in. I'm quite confident that Women in Localization will be sending a representative, and can't announce exactly who it is yet, but I think you can get an idea of who it could be. Very active Latin American speaker and leader in Women in Localization. So we're going to have a very interesting panel with people from diverse paths telling their stories.
That's excellent. It's just similar to Andre's thing where you get a group of peers together and you can share stories and learn. Karen, you're getting a group of women leaders in localization together to learn from your stories, but also talk about the challenges and kind of, encourage each other. I love it. That's awesome. Mr. Beninatto.
Hi, Mark.
How are you?
Very good.
Good. So, obviously you're attending Vamos Juntos, but I'm assuming that you're also presenting?
I'm doing a pre-conference workshop.
Awesome.
And hopefully I'm not going to talk about AI, because by March 2025, AI will be obsolete. And we'll be talking.
You've heard it here.
Something completely different, and it's going to be a new topic, and we will be talking about something else. No, I'm just kidding. But there will be new topics and new ideas. In Lima, we did a very interesting workshop in preparing, using PR and marketing in promoting, the organization. Charles was a participant in the workshop, and it was very interesting in how we built together. It was a very participatory workshop in using media and knowledge that we accumulate in the industry to promote the brands that we create, right? What Andrzej was sharing with us, this element of fear and crisis and negativity that clouds our industry, doesn't need to be that way. There's a lot of good stories. There's a lot of amazing achievements that we carry with the business that we provide to communities, to the success and growth of businesses all over the world, to our clients, to our employees, to our communities. And we can leverage that to grow our businesses. As Andrzej also mentioned, it's we are in this for growth, for progress, for advancement. And at NIMSI, we have taken a stance of understanding that every movement, every technology improvement that we see in the language industry or in the world as a whole, whenever it comes to the language industry, it drives more growth. And we are seeing this again. Even though there is an impact, we all have felt it, but it has impacted different parts of the industry in different ways. So we're going to be discussing this in the different presentations that we're going to be seeing. And I'm going to bring that in the pre-conference workshop in exercises and ways that we can leverage to help the participants promote their brands and leverage their stories into the media, not only social media, but media in general, to attract clients to their brands and their companies.
Excellent. I can think about some changes in the recent years. For example, with social media, and then you have all this user generated content. I can think about the impact that streaming services like Netflix have had in terms of creating a whole new niche industry, or maybe not creating it, but massively expanding it. Right, especially during COVID. Maybe if I was running LSP and I was looking for some new areas or some areas that were going to continue to grow and be very robust in the future, do you have any?
I don't know. And before AI, it's like, let's say 3 years ago, I was telling people that something is going to happen. I don't know what is going to be, but there is going to be, and I remember, the topic that I was using was 5G. When 5G was the new technology, because I was comparing the change from 3G to 4G enabled new technologies like Facebook, LinkedIn, social media in general. It was a kind of a revolution in communication that created so much more communication, so much more exchange that exploded. The need for localization exploded because of so many new businesses came into existence because of this increase and the transition from 3G to 4G. And then I said, 5G is coming. 5G is here. At the time that I was making this presentation, I was saying 5G is here. This is a transformational change in bandwidth, but also in the speed of communication, of data, availability of data. There's going to be things, new companies are going to appear, new technologies are going to appear. I couldn't have fathomed, I couldn't imagine that it was going to be AI, generative AI. Generative AI happened. And at the time, I remember saying, there's going to be things that I can't imagine, but there's going to be a massive amount increase of content. New companies are going to appear. New types of communication are going to be generated, and this is going to generate more work for us. And this is exactly what is happening. One of the things that I like to highlight to people that people don't take into consideration is that OpenAI hired a localization manager. OpenAI hired a Claro to do their localization. So the same way that I used to say many years ago that Microsoft and Google have Google Translate and Microsoft Translator, and they are the biggest buyers of localization services in the world. And people were saying, oh, machine translation is going to kill localization. The same way that we're saying that OpenAI is going to kill localization, they hired a localization manager. Claude, Anthropic has a localization manager. These companies need localization. A bunch of AI companies. There are over 800 LLMs available in the market. There are companies that are developing these LLMs. They will need localization people to work for them, for their user interfaces, for their help systems, for their training materials, etc., etc., etc. So there is a new ecosystem being developed around this new world, this new environment that is going to require localization for training materials, for help, for interface, for whatever.
So basically, what you're saying is it's not all gloom and doom. There's a ton of opportunities out there that we haven't even identified yet. But you just have to be open to it. Yeah. And I think you should do like a regular Monday morning 5-minute just podcast with that kind of message for everybody in the community, because it's hugely important.
I've been saying this, Mark, from the beginning. I've been saying this, and I struggle. I was very happy. Was it today? Yes, it was today, because yesterday was Sunday. It was from New Zealand. The news is from New Zealand. Stracker, the New Zealand company, posted that there was an analyst in New Zealand that put a very good outlook and invested in their company and put a buy recommendation for their stock, because they saw that there is a good outlook for Stracker because they're doing localization and in the age of AI, and they have invested and they have good tools that are, and they have IBM as a client and so on. A lot of positive stuff that an analyst saw. And Stracker was one of those companies that was very negative. They were afraid. They're saying, oh, AI is going to affect this industry negatively. And all of a sudden, an analyst from outside is saying, well, this is an industry that is going to grow. And then all of a sudden, things are positive again, right? So
awesome.
The people who were afraid and skeptical are now turning around. And let's bring this into Juntos. Juntos is about Latin America. Latin America is an amazing part of the world that not everybody talks about that much. And Charles is as a New Zealander, I was talking about New Zealand, talk about one here, who migrated to Argentina and saw this amazing part of the world of which I'm proudly from. And he organized this amazing organization that brings together this group of people from countries with incredible talent, incredibly smart people that have work ethic, creativity, intelligence, fun, great food, great stamina, and drive to create new opportunities and ideas and things like that. So what I'm excited about is to have these conversations in Mexico and bring together people from Peru, from Argentina, from Brazil, from Mexico, which is one of those areas, incredibly, which is a country that we don't hear very much in the localization industry, to my surprise. We know a lot of Argentinian localization companies, and our closest neighbor to the American market is Mexico, and we don't hear much about Mexican companies. I hope that having Juntos in Mexico will attract some of our local players to participate in the event and for us to have more opportunities to interact with them.
Yeah, Karen, you were going to say something. Go ahead.
I was just thinking that one of the incredible things I got out of Lima was the awareness and exposure to the number of indigenous languages in Peru alone that nobody ever talks about. And I'm that's going to be the case in Mexico as well. I mean, there are a couple of languages that we hear, but like you said, we don't hear a lot about what's going on. And I think that alone makes Juntos exciting and unique in the exposure to all of the languages, not just Spanish and Portuguese, in Latin America.
Totally agree. So, one of the great things about going to these events is when you get to learn, you get to meet, your peers and colleagues in the industry. But you also get to go and experience a new country and different foods and music and culture. Charles, what are your travel tips for Mexico? In fact, I'd like to kind of go around the virtual room here and get your tips or, your bucket list for Mexico City. Charles?
That's a really good point to bring up. Mexico, I mean, almost everybody has been to Mexico, but not that many people have been to Mexico City. And Mexico City has a wealth of museums and art galleries. It has its own aesthetic, which is just mind-blowing. I was there just 2 weeks ago and had the pleasure of attending the Day of the Dead parade, which was like 2 million people wearing mostly paper mache costumes, very, very little plastic, hand-sewn and woven stuff. It was just amazing, more like a Mardi Gras than Halloween. There's so much to do in Mexico City. For example, while I was there, I went to the Frida Kahlo Museum, the Diego Rivera Museum. There's a lot of art. Obviously, there's a lot of real Mexican food. So I'm not talking about Mexican food that you get at a resort. I'm talking about real Mexican food. So there's a lot going on. And Mexico City, the neighborhood where we're going to be is like cobblestone streets, and it's safe. If you've traveled the world, you'll be able to handle Mexico City, no problem. I'm really excited. I think there's going to be a lot of people are going to be adding on a little mini vacation onto their visit to Vamos Juntos to check out the city and to do things around while they're there. I mean, there's a lot to see and do.
It's funny. My colleague Alessio just spent a week down there in between events on the west coast of the U.S. And turns out that Mexico City is one of the top destinations in the world for digital nomads as well. It's just super convenient and friendly and welcoming to digital nomads. It's very easy to get the visa, housing, and all that stuff. Andrzej, what are you looking forward to doing in Mexico City outside of moderating the event and participating at Vamos Juntos?
Yeah, so for me, this will be really a trip to meet people and serve them, to meet with colleagues from localization industry. This is just 3.5 days for me. And I typically distinguish, whether it's a family trip or it's just me going somewhere, on the opportunity of industry event. This time I'm leaving my 3 young daughters at home in Poland. So I'll be just, flying out for 3 days and coming back. We'll just be back from our skiing in Dolomites. So it's like too many travels to take the kids with me. So This trip will be really about people getting there and serve with my knowledge, my expertise. That's my plan. I don't know how it happened. I've never been to Mexico. I've been to several countries in South America. I've been to Central America, like Panama, Nicaragua, Costa Rica. So for me, Mexico is still the place in the map that I have never been, never experienced. My tip for any traveler is always, try to go to places, to restaurants, to bars where you see local people are sitting, not only just tourists, but as many local people, so that you can feel and experience the flavor, the language, the joy, the energy, the feelings. That's what I'm always looking for. This time it will be a mixture of the whole South America, Central America, but basically people from all around the world, something I always enjoy at our conference events. So I'm very energetically and positively, approaching this event and waiting for this.
Yeah, I think that's some great advice. Just get out there and experience. You don't have to go to the big famous attractions. Sometimes you can have a great great time just going to a local bar. Let me ask you this: Do you speak Spanish?
Myself?
Yeah.
I call it survival Spanish. Happened to I speak French and Italian. So I was once surprised. I can tell you a little bit of my story. I was once surprised. I was hoping to give a presentation on selling our tool. I'm coming from XRF, selling our tool, and it was for the Spanish market. And I was prepared to perform this training for them in English. And when I just arrived on the stage, I realized they do not speak English. So it was the moment when I had to kind of invent my Spanish from Italian and French. And with some travels, I got some experience in working out my Spanish. But this is very survival, and probably you could laugh a lot. If you know Spanish and Italian, you could see how I kind of mix the things.
That's awesome. I love that. And and the reason I was asking, I was just curious, and Charles, you could probably give some insights, or Karen or Renato. Do you how easy or difficult is it to navigate, your way around in Mexico City if you have limited Spanish?
It's not that hard, but keep in mind that a couple of things for you to keep in mind when you talk about Mexico City. Mexico City is huge. It's like 25 million inhabitants. It's bigger than most European countries, right? The population of Mexico City is bigger than most European countries. And so you can have multiple experiences, neighborhoods. It's like cities. Each one of them. If you're not used to, even in the United States, you don't have cities that massive. It's a unique experience understanding that. And also another thing to keep in mind, the altitude. It's very high. It's like almost, it's one of the tallest, highest
I mean, we use feet, and I think it's close to almost 6,000 feet, which is a mile high, which is very thin air. In the U.S., the equivalent city would be Denver. And if you go from Seattle to Denver and try to go for a jog, good luck. So
keep that in mind. It's not to sea level. It's a high city, and but it's a unique experience. It's the architecture. There are different neighborhoods. It's a beautiful place, and the people, amazing people, very friendly people. They'll tell you're not going to have any trouble getting around.
That's awesome. Thanks, Renato. Hey, Karen, what are you looking forward to doing in Mexico City, or what advice do you have?
Well, I've never been there, so I'm taking notes from Charles and Renato. Okay. I will tack on a few days. I haven't decided whether it will be before or after. But, as you've mentioned, good food. I'd like to visit some of the cathedrals, the churches. I'd like to see some art. The Frida Kahlo was really interesting to me. And then we'll see. It's just, I'm a little worried about the altitude. I've been to Denver, but it's been a while. What's the effect on that initially?
It's not that hard.
I'm not planning on going jogging, so I'm not worried about that.
Yeah. But it's just keep in mind is if you realize that you're short of breath or you have a light headache, that's what it is. It's the altitude.
Yeah, just have to get acclimated.
Yeah. It will pass after 2 weeks anyway.
Yeah, it's the altitude. It's not the tequila.
Exactly.
But in other words, be careful of the tequila with the altitude. Probably it'll hit you harder.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hey, I really appreciate you guys coming on here in such a short notice to talk about Vamos Juntos, your roles there, the event itself, and tips for Mexico City. Charles, can you kind of remind everybody again the dates, and if they want to get information, where should they go?
Sure. So the main conference is March 14 and 15 next year, Mexico City at the Hotel Intercontinental. And then we're going to have 2 days of pre-conference workshops. Renato and Andrzej's workshops are some of them before the main event on the 12th and the 13th. We've got an amazing speaker lineup. I'll just throw out a few names. So we have Ingrid Christensen. We have Jose Palomares, the president of Gala. We have Jan Hinrichs, who founded the Lock Drinks and Lock Lunch movement. We have Adam Wooten from Middlebury Institute. It's a very long list. I couldn't possibly name them all. Anne-Marie Colliander-Lynn from Lock World. So a long list of very interesting speakers from different countries, over 10 different countries represented by the speakers. So there's going to be something for everyone. There isn't a single theme. There might even be a few presentations where AI is not mentioned. We're very excited.
The next technology.
Right.
The big hit in Lima, the number one hit in Lima was the panel that Karen Decker was on, where we heard inspirational stories from women business leaders in this industry who had very different stories to tell, but also with some very interesting parallelisms there too. So we're going to be repeating that panel. We're going to have a panel from the buyer's side. We're going to have a panel. We're hopefully going to have a panel with academics from Mexico, but that's not easy to organize. I'll tell you that. It's really, really exciting. So I look forward to seeing you all there. It is a very affordable conference. It costs less than half of what a comparable conference would cost.
No tariffs on our airfare because we're going to Mexico?
Not yet.
Oh, and that's another thing to mention. Mexico City is
book it before January 20th.
Yeah, it's very easy to get to. It's a short flight for most people from the United States or Canada, or it's a shorter flight than getting to Lima. Often people ask me, when are we having it in Argentina? Well, Argentina is a really long flight, and the place is full of Argentinians. This one it would be like a takeover. So Mexico is pretty easy to get to, and there's flights from almost everywhere in the world. So it's going to be a great event.
That's what it's funny that your comment about Argentinians. The gala after COVID down in San Diego, they did a poll for which country had the most participants, and Argentina. I can't even say it now. Argentina had the most people in attendance for Gala, all the way up in the U.S. So I can imagine what it would be like down there. Well, first off, Charles, thank you and your co-founders of the Vamos Juntos for putting this event together. I've just heard some amazing stories, and this is your third year. It keeps getting bigger and better. And then Andrzej, Karen, and Renato, thank you guys for calling in on a very, very short notice and, participating in this episode of memoQ Talks so more people can understand what to expect and what a great opportunity this is. Wish you guys a great holiday season and hope to see you all soon.
Yes, take care. Happy holidays.
Bye-bye.
I'll leave a last word here.
Of course.
One of the smart things that they did is because Vamos Juntos, as you say, it works very well in the two big languages of Latin America, Portuguese and Spanish. It's the same words in both languages. So, but the way that we say in Portuguese is different. In Portuguese, it's Vamos Juntos. So it's Vamos Juntos and Vamos Juntos. But in both languages, it means the same thing. Let's go together. So see you there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining memoQ Talks, where we talked with industry leaders about their experiences and lessons learned to gain new insights about what works best across all areas of localization. Join us next time on memoQ Talks.